So we'll call the meeting to order at 5:31, and there are no public appearances. So we will go to approval of the minutes for the February 2023 minutes. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Then I will call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. We'll go to number 4 on the agenda, financial report. Wendy, do you want us to explain it first, and then we'll
Sure.
go from there?
Sure. So we've got both the register and the overview. On the register, a couple of things I wanted to point out. One is in account number 240, and that is to Full Spectrum Systems. This is the cabling that was required for the 2 new security cameras. So I think we saw the camera charge already. Maybe we saw it last month, but this is just the cabling that went along with that. And then the Nichols Electric in that same account. We had occupancy sensors. A lot of our lights work on occupancy sensors for kind of trying to be more sustainable with our lighting. But that teen room was on occupancy sensors, and I don't think we realized that. And the occupancy sensor went bad, and so we literally could not turn on the lights in the teen room. And it was December. It was real dark in there starting at like 5 o'clock. So we had them actually come in and disconnect the occupancy sensor so that they are just on light switches now, which I think for that room, really for any public space that we're going to have open at night, I think it needs to be on all the time. So that was that. And then you'll see down in 340, we have AED supplies. So just kind of a heads up, we do this every 3 years. So the pads that come along with our AEDs expire every 3 years, and we have both adult size and juvenile size. So we get those through Fitchburg because they obviously buy those in bulk and get a good deal on them. So we purchase them through them, and it was time for them to be replaced. The upside to that is also they take the old ones and they use them when they are doing CPR. If they need to remove chest hair from someone, they use an expired pad as sort of a little waxing system, so they don't go in the trash. So that's good. Also in that account, Lucas Holdings, you'll see library cards. So this is our 3rd time buying library cards since we've been open. So we don't do this very often. This will get us through another couple of years. I wanted to do it in 22 because the budget is a little bit tighter in 23. So we got that taken care of in 22. And you'll also see we've got 2 bills to MG&E, and that is typical. So we usually have 2 that show up in December, and then we don't have one in January. So it evens out by the end of the year. I think that is all that I had to talk about on that. Any questions on the register before I move on to the overview?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wendy, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Count 340, 1229, we have staples listed 5 times for the same amount. Is that in fact 5 different charges to staples for the same amount?
I believe it is, but I will definitely look into it. I'm trying to remember what that would have been. Sometimes we order, this happens with Staples and with Amazon, we'll order either multiple of the same item or multiple items in one order, and then they break it up and ship it however they can. And it's annoying. Anytime you see an Amazon charge for like $3, it was not purchased on its own. It just got split up, but I will definitely look into that and make sure.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. Toby, did you have a question too?
Nope, not now.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, then moving on to the overview. So this is the first time that we're seeing the end of year. It is not audited. The auditors are here this week, so we will review this again next month when it is post audit. A couple of things that came to mind or came to my eye when I looked through it. We do have a couple of personnel accounts that are overspent, which I don't think has happened in the history of the library. So we've got it looks like WRS, that's a retirement system, and then life insurance. Those are both budgeted for us by the HR department, and I have never seen them be off. I think this might be due to the fact that we hired a full-time position during the year. And so perhaps we did not anticipate what that cost was going to be. I will check in with Misty in the finance department to kind of see what that's about and if we anticipate the same issue going forward. We also have an over expenditure in utilities, and I'll just say that that's always a guess. I think solar is not performing the way that we want it to. I think we've had some equipment problems with inverters. So in the overall grand scheme of things, we are still putting quite a bit of money into fund balance. You'll see down there in the pink box, we're putting $81,000 into fund balance. So this doesn't affect anything greatly, but something just kind of to note. It also looks like we're overspent $4,000 in the restricted grant expenditure, but that was actually a carryover. So that was money that we had for the display shelving that came from the Friends as a donation in 2022, but we couldn't get that shelving here. 21, sorry, we got it here in 22. So we carried that over, but the carryover doesn't show up in this finance report. It shows up on the city finance software. So it looks like we're overspent there, but we're really not. That was all accounted for. I think I mentioned this last month, but interest income came in at 16,000 instead of 2. So that was fantastic. That was unexpected. And overall, I think we're in a good spot. I think putting 81,000 into fund balance allows us to fund some things in the future, but isn't so far off that I feel like we're not budgeting correctly. Questions on the overview?
Is the 81,000 that's put into the fund balance a typical amount per year that's transferred over? Is it unusual for this year?
I would say it is fairly typical. I would say we're usually between 60 and 80. We had a couple of years during the pandemic when we were not doing programming nearly at the level that we were normally. And so we put quite a bit more in, but I would say this is pretty typical.
Okay, if there are no other questions or clarifications, may I have a motion to approve both the financial register and the overview?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business. Wendy, do we have anything?
We do not.
And moving on to item number 6, new business. Policy review electronic services.
So that is why Lisa is here with us tonight. So Lisa is our electronic services librarian. She's just had her 5-year anniversary. Not just, it was last year. We just gave the certificates out.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. and that's not completely accurate because she worked for us as a library assistant before she went off and got a full-time job at another library, and then we brought her back. So what we're going to do, so some of you may remember this from past years, probably most of you won't, but what we've done in past years is we have managers, we have our policy split up between all of the managers and myself. And what we have done is had the manager come with their policies to review, but also give kind of a tour of their department. So you, for most departments, are going to get to go out in the building, see kind of what the spaces are, see the back room areas, the front room areas, kind of see what the processes are. Lisa's our electronic services librarian. So actually that worked out very nicely for tonight because we're on Zoom. So she's in charge of a lot of things that don't have a space of their own. So she's going to give us kind of an overview of her responsibilities, and then we'll get into the policies after that. All right, Lisa, take it away.
All righty. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. Give me
Excellent.
1 second. All righty, here we are.
Excellent.
Okay. So, as Wendy said, I'm the electronic services librarian here at the Fitchburg Public Library. My name is Lisa. So, just kind of what I do here in the library, looking at my department. So, as Wendy said, I work as a member of the management team. My department, I'm responsible for all the technology in the library. So, here you can kind of see in numbers version what that looks like. So basically anything you can think of. We currently have 50 computers here in the library for public use. That includes all the PCs, so the computers in our technology center, laptops that patrons can use, AWEs and iPads, so early learning stations for kids, as well as our catalog computers. We have 28 different staff computers that I'm also in charge of and oversee, 12 printers. That also includes those large Canon copiers. If you've ever been in the library, we have those that patrons can use to scan, print, copy, all that kind of stuff. New in 2022, we implemented this pay to print system, which is a really great thing we did for patrons. So this includes our coin towers as well as a mobile printing service. This gave patrons more control over what they wanted to print, as well as more privacy. So it doesn't automatically release their job until they log in and then send it off. So that was something that was a big project we worked on in 2022, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. So in addition to all this hardware, you can kind of see in these pictures, it's a lot of the hardware side. You can see the little sneak peek of the network closet back there with all the connections. I'm also in charge of all the software. So that includes the time management system we have for patron PCs. So that's connected. So if you log in here at the library, you need either a library card or a pass, and it'll keep track of your amount of time on that PC, as well as our meeting room reservation system is another software I'm in charge of. So setting up the conference room, meeting room reservations and that. We also have digital displays and self-check machines here in the library. I do back-end work on that. In addition to all these larger aspects of the tech, we have the smaller peripherals. So we have a 3D printer that we have that patrons can request 3D prints. We have Rokus and Kindles that patrons can check out and take home with them. Oops, sorry. So my main responsibilities in my position, I'm a liaison between City IT and South Central. So the library, we're kind of in this middle space here. We're both a city department and we are a member of the South Central Library System Consortium. So depending on the technology we're using, what its purpose is, it's either connected through the city or through South Central. So my job here is to kind of maintain that connection and really communicate between city and South Central IT whenever we want to implement something new, or if we're having trouble with something we're working on, or if they have something that they need to communicate to us, then that all goes through me. So I also maintain and troubleshoot. So all that technology I talked about in the previous slide, anything that we have, if we ever have any troubles, I'm always the first person to come to. I also work on updating and implementing new hardware and software. So currently we're on a 4-year rotation for all our hardware in the library. So all the computers and everything, we are on a rotation to rotate it out every 4 years to make sure it's up to date, it's working, and it won't be obsolete for people to use. So whenever we get this new technology, software in particular, I try to do my best to communicate with staff and the public on these new services or systems. So use of digital services. One of the big ones we had was transitioning from Overdrive to Libby for our digital collections. So helping train both staff and the public on these technologies. I also work with patrons on fostering basic technology skills. And as well as I am the admin for the library website. So this is going to be more of a tour part of this for you guys. So in just a second, I'll show you our new website. So last year, I was a part of the website refresh committee with the city of Fitchburg. This started January 2022. It was a big multi-departmental project collaborating to really update our website, make it more friendly for patrons, make it easier for people to navigate and use the site, as well as making it a responsive design. So that way it works just as well on people's mobile devices as it does on the desktop. So previously, our previous version, you can kind of see this picture down here on the left, that this was our old site. And then in August of last year, so after about 9 months of work, we implemented this new version of our website. So I will take you there.
It looks so much better.
It does. It does.
So
It's so nice. So, and I can show you quickly here what the responsive code does for us. So we can see here, if this is what it'll look like on your mobile device. So it's the same idea as what you see on your bigger screen. So it's a lot easier for people to recognize and use when they're using their digital devices, because a lot of time that's how people are browsing the internet, is just on their phone. So take that out. So the biggest change we made to this page, to our webpage, is this home screen here. So you go to the library website, this is where you're going to land. You have, and this went through, we worked through this, we talked about it a lot. We worked on really curating this content, try to find what people want the most when they come to our website. So here we have these opening tabs. So what people really want to do, they want to access their library account. All these main links here for people to use. It goes into further city news and announcements, as well as our library Facebook page. And you can scroll down and see our calendars as well. So this is all on the main page here for you. Don't even have to try and navigate through the website to find all this information. In fact, TV took the photos that we have that kind of scroll through this background here too. So it was really a whole citywide project. This top navigation pane is actually pretty similar to what we had before. So they're divided into these categories. The information is curated. So using the library covers facilities. So like media rooms, study rooms, using your library card to check out materials, that sort of thing. For You is really curated by department. So like information for adults, kids, teens, and now with Minda, we have our outreach page as well. The e-library here, if it'll come up for me. I might need a refresher. 1 second.
Odd.
It doesn't want to do it for me. While it's thinking, I can keep talking about it. So if you could see it, the e-library really covers my department. So it helps you navigate the digital library, so audiobooks, ebooks, what kind of content is available. I'm going to exit this page quick. I apologize. There we go. E-library, as I was saying, you can check out help getting audiobooks, ebooks, help request forms. So say you have a topic you want to talk about, you could submit a form. If you have a question about the website or anything like that. Research is where I'm going to take you a little bit further here in the website, shows us all the databases we have here, all the digital content available for people who use the library. So we have generally here our digital collections. So we have digital library, we have the catalog that you can browse, Badger Link, which is free to the public as well, provided by the Department of Public Instruction. Comics Plus is a database that we subscribe to particularly, which is, in a way, it's like Overdrive if you ever use that, but it's just graphic novels and comic books. And the nice thing about that is there's no wait lists or holds, so that's great. And if you keep scrolling down, you can see all these more specific databases that you can access. And so some of the ones we subscribe to specifically would be Ancestry Library, Novelist Plus, Reference Solutions, and Transparent Language Online. So like if you want to learn a different language, you can use that one. Another popular one is Consumer Reports. So we have all this here ready for patrons to use. About tab here at the top for navigation really covers kind of Wendy's department, the admin side. So what we do, policies, reports, all that good stuff. Our different collaborations, so Beyond the Page, Friends of the Library, Library Board, Building, as well as frequently asked questions. And we also have our contact information here too. So we really have put a lot of thought and work into trying to make this the best experience for patrons possible.
Yes, and just to brag for Lisa a little bit, if you look at the city's website, we're the first little choice that you have because we're the most visited site in the city of Fitchburg. So, yay.
Cool.
Lisa, thank you for that presentation. I learned so much. It was great.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Do you all have any questions for me about like my position or anything like that?
I have one question about
Sure.
the computers that we have set up in
Mhm.
that room that Wendy, you've talked about changing that room out.
Mhm.
How many computers do we have to have and how many get used on a daily basis?
Sure. So we're actually, as part of this larger project that Wendy's talking about, we're actually like refiguring this. So we have 16 in there currently. They're not used consistent, like it's never full in that room when like from day to day. So it can get a little busy, but really the space is underutilized kind of for what we
And I would
have.
just chime in with
Yep.
Dane County standards. I believe we're required to have 17 computers, so that room itself would fulfill that. And there is discussion as we're looking at changing the standards. There's discussion on reducing the requirement for all libraries because so many people are just using their own devices now.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for that presentation. It really was good.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah. It's not quite the same kind of tour that you guys will get with the other managers, but it's
I mean, you don't get to show the sorter, which is,
I
think
don't.
always the biggest.
right. That's okay though.
All right, so I think we can move into policies. And we'll want to approve these. So the reason we do these every year, and we do these every year, is so that they have a current date that the board has seen and approved them. So if we are having to enforce policies with patrons, and we say this is a board approved policy, you all have all seen it and approved it. So we'll go one by one and we'll need to vote on each of them separately.
So I will make a motion to approve the 3D printer policy and then we can have a discussion on it.
All right, and we'll
Second.
at Lisa, yeah. Oh, we don't
Okay.
need seconds anymore, but yeah, we'll give
Oh,
Lisa a little
sorry.
minute to.
Okay. So yes, 3D printer policy. And this is going to cover our 3D printing service to patrons. Actually, I'm going to bring up my screen one more time for all of you. So fortunately, the changes didn't show up in our board packet for you all, and we didn't get a chance to fix it. So if you look at mine, you can kind of see where the edits were made. So currently we don't have any changes to our 3D printer policy. It's been working really well for the service we provide, kind of designates like what we can and cannot print for patrons. Does anyone have any questions?
If there's nothing Lisa can clarify, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving the 3D printing services policy, please say aye.
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 Opposed? 3D printer policy passes for the year 2023. Moving on to, I'm sorry, I can't see. I am viewing, okay.
Next up is computer and internet
Thank
use
you.
policy.
I don't know what happened here. Thank you.
Yeah,
I need a motion to approve, please.
I'll move that. I move that we approve.
Okay. So the computer and internet use policy is going to cover, kind of says it itself. So it's covering all computers that access the internet in the library. So basically covering us on like internet provided by a multitude of sources. We're not responsible for that. Basic use. So what people can and cannot necessarily access here. One change we do have here, so I have it here on my screen. Again, I apologize, it didn't make it into the packet. So it's on the second page where it says saving documents other work to library computers is prohibited. Patrons must save work using a flash drive, optical disc, or external storage media. This is a piece of this policy. It was really in there when we had a Apple computer, so we didn't really have a way to manage those so people could save stuff to that desktop. So this covered us there. We've since retired that computer, and now all our computers, whenever you log out, everything is automatically deleted off of it. So it's just kind of a little piece of this policy that no longer makes sense for what we have.
Anything that you need to clarify before we call for a vote? If not, all in favor of approving the computer internet use policy document, say aye.
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 Opposed? So computer internet use policy for 2023 passes. Meeting room policy.
Yes. This is one of our more extensive policies here at the library. So this
Ooh, let's get a motion first,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Nope, that's me.
I will motion to approve.
Excellent.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Joey.
go ahead.
Sorry, got ahead of myself. So this is one of our more extensive policies here at the library. Covers all the use of our meeting spaces. So we have that larger meeting room and we have the smaller conference room. So this kind of helps clarify what these spaces are available for and basic use of the room. This has been kind of worked and reworked throughout the years, and we've really gotten it to a place where it really kind of works for us. There's one little spot we do have on page 2 under number 3, general regulations, second page, regarding signs, posters, and displays. This previous iteration said no signs, posters, displays, etc. Promoting a meeting or program by an organization or group may be placed anywhere in the library. We kind of wanted to expand this a little bit. We've had some instances where it's not necessarily promoting the meeting itself, but people will try to hang signs around the library, expressly for the purpose of their meeting. So we've kind of taken out that one phrase to say that posters, displays must be contained within the room, that they can't be posted throughout the library.
Anything Lisa can clarify for anyone? If not, I will call the question. All in favor of approving the meeting room policy with the changes Lisa discussed, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Social media policy.
Right.
Okay, let's get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So social media policy. It covers our social media use here at the library. So we have both Facebook and Twitter. This one is really beholden through the city as a city department. This is really just kind of contained and based off of their policy, sort of limiting it to the marketing platform for the library rather than creating that open forum space. So does anyone have any questions for me on this one?
And just to chime in, that was based on recommendations from our insurance provider. So I know a lot of people use Facebook to start a conversation and invite a lot of comments. We specifically use this for only advertising, and we do not allow comments because if we do, we are creating a public forum, and then anybody can say anything they want and we can't delete it because then we're censoring people. So I think we were really frustrated by this when it first became our policy, and I think in the years since have sort of appreciated it. It allows us to use this for good and not to entertain a lot of
sure.
discussion.
Yeah, kind of keep it a safe space.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor of passing the social media policy, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I will make a motion to approve the wireless access policy.
Okay, this is the last one I have. So this is our wireless access policy, covers our wireless access both in the building and the access point we have that extends to the parking lot. So basically covering the access through the wireless network. And we don't have any proposed changes to this one. It has been working really well for us, so.
Anything Lisa can clarify? Then I will call the question. All in favor of the wireless access policy being approved, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lisa, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go. Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
all right.
Bye, thank you. So we are on the agenda, item number 6B, choosing a nominating committee. Wendy?
Is that what it says on yours? Mine says we're on our 5723.
Mine says B is choosing the nominating committee and C
that-
is,
Okay,
That
That's fine.
matches me. Yep.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, so we need to choose a nominating committee, so we will start with sort of a new board in May, which is all of you. Mark's last meeting will be in April, so we will have a new person from Oregon Schools that Mark very generously found for us. Adrian, she'll start in May. And what we'll need to do in May is elect officers. So we need a president and we need a vice president and a treasurer. So we need a committee to talk people into doing those things.
okay, I will volunteer to be on the committee.
Thank you. I think
Yeah,
we need at
well,
least one. Okay, excellent. So Toby and John,
Thank you. Is that all we need?
I think that's all we need.
Perfect.
Excellent.
So now we are on resolution R 57-23.
Yes, so this is a giant document. I apologize for that. It is part of the reason that there are so many pages to this is just the contract, but also because this is going to council that is on the recommendation of Misty Dodge, who's the finance director, because this is agreeing to a 10-year contract. And she felt that the council should know about that part of it. I think if it was just the purchase of this order, we'd probably just do it with the library board. So that's why there's a resolution and the formatting is all the way that it is. We started a conversation about this last month. And I have brought a little bit more information that I think might be helpful, kind of just for some perspective on this. As you all know, we have a automated materials handling system that we purchased in 2011 when we opened the library. The building was specifically constructed to hold that machine. It's a pretty sizable machine. It has 7 bins that it sorts into. It is attached to our drive-up book drop, which if you'll see this when we take the tour with access services, but it is built into the grade of the property. So when you drive through to return your books, you're actually sort of on the second level. Not quite that high, but it's real. So the return is real high up on the wall. There's a long conveyor belt that comes down and feeds into the sorter. The reason I share all of that is that I think part of the discussion or background that I just wanted to provide you with tonight is what we would need to do if we decided not to have a sorter anymore. And part of that would be some reconstruction of the building because that book drop would absolutely not work at that height if we didn't have it hooked up to the sorter. Phil and I sat down after the discussion. So the purchase price in this document is a little bit over $212,000. And then the service part of it is agreeing to $183,000 over 10 years for the platinum service contract that comes with it. As we discussed a little bit last month, the platinum service package gives us a 10-year warranty and it gives us annual maintenance, which I am very interested in, and it gives us a lot of guarantee that we won't have a lot of downtime if something were to go wrong with the sorter. The current sorter, and I may have shared this last month, I don't remember, the current sorter was installed in 2011, worked really well for us for almost a year, right until it was time to do summer reading program, and then something went wrong with the timing belt. So it was essentially taking every item and sorting it as the item behind it. So it mis-sorted every item that was coming in through the drop. So we had to stop using it and we had to just basically bypass all of the bins and put all of our returns into one bin. It was awful. The staff that are still here that remember it are still traumatized by it. It was much more work than we could do with the amount of staff that we have. So remember that we planned our organizational chart around having a sorter. So we do not have the amount of staff that are required to function without it. So Phil and I sat down and kind of did some rough estimating about what we would need to do without it. And what we came up with is that we would need to add a number of positions, both in the library assistant 1 position and in the shelver position. So if everything is coming into the building, just into a bin that needs to be processed, that's done by a library assistant 1. The shelvers are not working in the ILS system. So I think I'm going to go low and I'm going to say we need 3 additional library assistant 1s that total would be $60,000 a year. And then I think we would need 4 additional 10-hour shelvers. That's about $31,000 a year. So what we would be looking at, this does not include FICA or insurance either. So this is really, we're talking a low estimate. So I think the lowest increase we would see in annual costs for staffing would be $92,000, which kind of tempers paying $18,000 a year in service. It's certainly a decision that we could look at. It would take a lot of doing. I don't know that we could absorb that. Also keep in mind, so the service contract that we're looking at here is paid through operating funds, but the bulk of the purchase, so the purchase of the actual sorter is through fund balance. So that is money that we have not spent over the years, put into savings specifically for this. We've been planning for this in the capital improvement plan since we opened. So while it is painful, also keep in mind, so we currently have a sorter and we pay $15,000 a year in service on the one that we have now. That has escalated over the years, so it certainly started out lower than, and you know, the next one is starting up higher. I think in 12 years, also with the pandemic, like costs have skyrocketed for everything. So the cost of this sorter is about $100,000 more than the last one. And so I think the sort of the increased cost of service is not something I like to see, but I think is probably reasonable. I don't know how in depth you read into the contract. There are different service contracts available. They go from an hourly version to a gold version that does not give you a warranty, to the platinum, which is what we're at, which I think gives a lot of benefits, to a platinum plus that I think gives you a half-time person, if I read it correctly, which we do not need. I think that would be appropriate if you were, you know, a giant urban library with 30-bin sorter and conveyor belts all over your building. I think we're perfectly fine with just the platinum. So my recommendation is that we move forward with this. I think also, because this is a CIP project, we got this quote from them a year ago so that we could budget for it. They have held their costs for a full year now. And I think that if we put this off, that is for sure not going to be the case. Every time I have had to ask for an extension, which is twice just this year, they have said like, oh, good, we get to keep the price the same. But I feel like we're really on borrowed time for that. And keep in mind that if the price of the sorter goes up, the price of the service goes up, because that starts at like a 10%, which they lowered for us, which I'm very appreciative of. So I talked this over with Misty in finance. She said she really felt like the service plan is really insurance to make sure that our investment keeps working. And when I talked it over with Chad Bruckland, who's the city administrator, he really felt like if you compared the cost of what the staffing change would be to the service, that it felt more reasonable that way. Yeah, the other thing that we would have to consider if we didn't have it would be, so that the construction to the sorter room, not only would we would need to brick up the drive-through book drop. I don't know that we could maybe install like a freestanding book drop that would be further down in the lane, but then staff would have to go in and out with that. You would have to empty that manually. And then I think we would have to buy a whole bunch of shelving and staff workstations for that back room. So it would be a significant change to our operations, and it would be a significant expense. I think that those building expenses could certainly be paid out of fund balance, because that would be one-time cost, but the staffing costs would be significant, and they would be, you know, basically forever. So that's sort of my explanation of why I think we need to go forward with this. But I would welcome any questions or comments that you have. Certainly, I didn't really realize until we started talking about this last month that really the first library board that decided we were going to have a sorter made a really big decision for us for the rest of time. And that feels kind of unfair right now. But is the way it is.
Well, Wendy, it seems like we would be spending over $100,000 per year for staff when you include benefits, Social Security, you know, those taxes, etc. So we really don't have a choice on this. Right. And it is actually saving us money to do it this way.
Yes, it doesn't feel like it this year, but think of all the years that we're not having to do this. Yeah, I agree.
Do you need a motion to approve this? Or
yes, absolutely. Yep.
then I will.
Wendy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If this is approved, what is the timeline for when this would happen?
So we
What
will,
is the implication that would be for, I'm guessing we would have to shut down the book drop minimally in order to get this put in.
yes.
So what is the timeline for the installation timeline, and as far as when the installation would happen?
Sure. So the quote that we have right now is good through the end of March. So this is going to go to council, finance committee on the 28th and council on the 28th. Provided everything goes smoothly there, we will sign it, send it in by the end of the month. And I think we're probably looking at between 6 and 8 months lead time to get it constructed. So we're looking at a fall installation. We will have to shut down the book drop. We have had to do that. I don't know if any of you happen to notice this, but we had a problem with our current sorter probably about 3 weeks now, where the emergency stop wouldn't stopping. That's a terrible sentence, but the emergency pull bar on the side wouldn't deactivate, and so it wouldn't take anything, and we had to shut it down from the outside for I think 24 hours maybe, and people are very sad when that happens. I think we could probably do the swap over in a day or two, but I would need to confirm that with the company. It went in really fast the last time, so it comes pretty much all put together. And it went in really fast last time. I expected like it would be like a whole week's project, but it was not. It was a day or two.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Also, I emailed about this, but this has gone to the city attorney, and she had, I think, 4 or 5 requested changes, mostly to do with indemnity. So nothing really to do with the guts that we're talking about, but just with the indemnity. We don't sign indemnity clauses. That went back to the attorneys at Envisionware, and I am expecting a response any minute. It did not sound to me like they were going to have any issues with it, but we will deal with that as we have to. Yeah, so
may I have a motion to approve? Okay, I'll do it. I have a motion to approve the resolution R 57-23. Is there anything else that Wendy can clarify?
I'm sorry to drag it out. Could you talk a little bit more about the consideration of the option of choosing the hourly package instead of the platinum package?
So the reason I'm not interested in that or the gold package is that it does not give you a 10-year warranty on the unit. And I think if you're paying hourly, I think you don't have a control of what the costs are going to be. And that makes me very nervous from a budgeting standpoint. It also, I believe, does not, if you have a firmware problem, does not address that. And I've had enough firmware problems on a variety of items that makes me very nervous as well.
And I think you said last time that other libraries use this service and have had good outcomes with it.
So we are, I think, would be the second library. So a lot of people have been installing their equipment like self-checks. Sun Prairie has installed a sorter of theirs. They were the first one in the system to switch over to Envisionware. So I've heard good things from them. It's been within the last 6 months or a year. So it's not, I don't anticipate that they would have had a lot of issues, although you never know. Our biggest issue came within the first year of us owning it. So yeah. Yep, I've heard good things.
There's nothing further. I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So that's only 2 ayes. Okay. And opposed? No one's opposing. Abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Wendy, can that pass with only 2 people saying aye out of the group?
I think people are going to have to decide.
Okay, I guess
I think there was 3, weren't there?
it was you and me.
I was an I also.
Okay, thank you,
Aye.
Patrick.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
good.
Yeah.
So motion passes. Item number,
Excellent, thank you.
number 7, the president's report. I have nothing for you. Thank you though all for attending. Number 8, the library director report.
I will keep this very short because we've had a lot of discussion already. We have hired 4 shelvers. They have all started. They all had library experience, so training was easy. That was fantastic. We just offered both of the library assistant to adult services positions today, and they were accepted. So they are starting early April. So I never like to say we're fully staffed because that's just the best way to jinx yourself, but we are fully staffed. Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very happy with the candidate pools and the candidates. So we're in a good spot. And thank you everyone to switching to Zoom because we've had a little of COVID here, and I just wanted to make sure that we were all careful. That's all for me.
Number 9, committee reports, strategic planning,
Nothing.
facilities,
Nothing.
personnel.
I already gave it.
That's what I thought. Next library board meeting will be April 19th. And I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I
I'll make-
move that we adjourn.
Thank you, John. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned at 6, what is it, 18
Yeah.
PM.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Wendy.